We're doing the clarity session here, how to sell anybody, anything, anytime, I guess, which is a very bold statement. So I want to just go through this presentation with you in this pre-record so you've just got some perspective. So let's look at the secret formula for selling anything to anyone in the marketplace. What could happen? I guess the big question is, what would happen if you had absolute certainty that you could sell to anybody, anytime? Imagine what a game changer that would be to your business, to what you're trying to achieve and put out there in the marketplace. And at the same time, what a difference it would make to your confidence if you're able to sell anything to anybody in the marketplace. So if you think of the product or the service you provide and the value you deliver or you bring to the market, then this idea of the ultimate sales system or formula is very appealing. So no more call reluctance, your confidence will skyrocket, your income will increase, and you'll get everything you've ever wanted. So imagine you can sell anything to anyone. That is an absolute game changer for everybody. So what you want to do is, the way to do this is you want to find out by carefully listening to what customers want and tell them that you're sincerely interested in helping them get it. Bob Orris wrote a fantastic book called Dominate Sales. Highly recommend it. But one of the things he talks about is this concept of the attitude of sales. And so this is a really simple, when we think about this, I'm going to go through and ask a few questions here just to give you perspective. But I want you to break this down. So find out by carefully listening. So really listening with intent to understand the problem, understand the idea that your customer actually wants. So almost articulating a problem better than they can by really drilling deep into their desire for the outcome. And the idea is to explain to them or tell them that you want to do everything in your power, right, that you're sincerely interested in helping them get that outcome. So can you work together or can you collaborate together to get that outcome for the actual client? Next thing, let's try it, right? What do you want most in life, right? More cash, a new home, financial security. If we think about the things that we want in life, now if somebody just came along and says, hey, let me give you financial security, well, that sounds all very good, but in our heads, it's like, well, I don't know who you are. I don't know if I can trust you with my financial security. I don't know if you can actually help me. I've got no evidence, nothing to prove that you can help. But if we were to answer this question in a way of how I just mentioned, in carefully and sincerely listening, think about if you were to put yourself in the shoes of the person who desires financial security and you're putting yourself in front of somebody else who is intensely and sincerely looking to help you. And so this is what maybe the conversation might look like. So I might sit there and say, hey, look, I really want to create a sense of financial security and have the resources for independence, have the resource to be able to have the freedom of choices. But ultimately, what I want to do is I want to make sure that we have more than enough for what I need in life and in business and the things that I want to achieve and experience. And at the same time, to also be able to protect our assets, to minimize any risk in the investments that we make, and making sure that we have a consistent growth over a period of time. So if I were listening to me in this conversation, being the other person on the side, I would sit and say, okay, so let's get this very clear. What you're looking to do is create a structure where you don't have a high risk portfolio. You are minimizing your investment risk, making sure that you have a gradual incremental growth in the asset that you're having. But ultimately, you want to have the ability for the resources, the freedom to have the choices to go travel, go and have experiences, do the things that you want to achieve in life, contribute to your family, contribute to those around you, may even contribute to causes as well. But ultimately, you want to have that sense of freedom and independence. And so if there are a way, so here's a question, right, from the sales point of view. If there were a way, if we could sit down and look at a way from where you are now to where you want to be, if we were able to bridge that gap by sitting down and looking at a really structured approach to make sure that you minimize those risks, maximize the investment opportunities, making sure that you're safe, making sure that you have the assets and the capabilities and the growth that you're looking for to have the ability to be resourced for your family, for your projects, for your businesses, but to actually have a guided step, one that can be monitored, one that can actually be flexible in the fact that it can change with the environment, whether we can improve our opportunities or leverage opportunities or minimize risks. So for example, like we're in a COVID-19 scenario where we can actually mitigate those risks. If we were to sit down and perhaps go through a plan and a structure where you can actually see those things incrementally happen along the way, is it worthwhile us sitting down and having conversation and collaborating on that? Now, if I was you and I was sitting there sincerely thinking, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and yeah, you've hit the nail on the head with all the things that I'm looking for in financial security, I guess, my questions are how do you do that, or how does your company, or what does that even cost me, right, to actually make that happen as an outcome? And so I would sit there and I would have those questions. And then if I was a salesman, say, look, at the end of the day, what if we had made it a no-risk situation? What if we actually went through, sat down, at the end of that plan, you can decide whether you keep the plan, you can take it away and share it with another financial advisor, or if you decide and you like the plan, that we can look at a way where we can work together to make sure that we implement those outcomes so that we generate that financial security we're looking for. What would what do you think about that? And I'd probably say, well, yeah, okay, let's go for it. Let's do that, right? I've taken away the risk. I've given an incredible value. I'm also giving an insight into what needs to be delivered to be able to create that outcome, and allowing that person to have the opportunity to be able to sit down and look at exactly what they want in this scenario. I'll give you another example that's non-business related. Let's say I wanted to improve my golf swing, my drive swing, and gain another 50 yards on my drive, right? If that was the thing, I'm a weekend golfer. I can drive up to 180 meters without any challenges. I tend to do that fairly consistently. But if I could drive 230, right, if I could go that far, that extra 50 yards, that would be a game changer for my scores, because my short game might be terrible. But if I can just get close, my short game's great, but my long game's terrible. So if I can actually improve my drive by an extra 30 to 50 yards from a golfing perspective, if I was an avid golfer, that would be pretty neat and pretty cool, right? Now, if I was a golfing instructor, I would sit there and say, listen, what if I actually shared with you Greg Norman's techniques on the perfect drive, and also provide you with perhaps the same structure or swing that his coach taught him to enable him to get the longest distances in his drive to add 20 to 30 yards? What if we could actually sit down and just go through a couple of lessons where we improve your stance, your grip, your swing and your move, and follow through to make sure you got that extra 50 yards? Would you be interested in sitting down and taking a few of those lessons? Now, if golfing was my thing and that's what I really wanted to do, and somebody sat there and said, hey, well, what if I gave you a system, a process, a structure to actually be able to achieve that outcome in a way that is effortless and relatively easy once you understand that process of putting yourself in that position to be able to make that swing and gain that extra 30 to 50 yards and only take a few lessons, I'm in. If I'm a golfer, I'm going to be in, because I'm getting exactly what I want. And I'm getting it from the point of view of the understanding of some of the mechanics of being able to achieve that outcome. So that's the thing, if you think about the things that you most want, right? And somebody would sit down and say, look, what if I just showed you? So just want to get very clear about what it is that you want and why you want that and why that's important to you. And then from there, I guess if I can show you a way on how we can perhaps work together to get that outcome, then you'll be able to achieve the result, right? So right now, you're in a position where you're not getting the result. And now you're in a position where you're very clear about the outcome, and you can actually see how you can bridge the gap from where you are now to where you want to be in this outcome. So this concept of being able to sell anything to anyone really revolves around your total understanding the exact desired outcome that your prospective customer wants. And sometimes we think we know what customers want, but ultimately, if we don't ask the questions or we don't relate those questions to things that are relevant to them, then we're going to miss out on the opportunity to sell the outcome. So let's look at this a little bit closely, right? What if somebody just wanted to sell you what they thought that you should buy and push their agenda and got you to do things that you're really not interested in? How would you react to that scenario? So think about this. We're in the business of sharing marketing ideas, digital marketing, lead generation, funnels, automation, all those sorts of things. And we can make significant impacts and significant improvements to people's businesses by providing those things that we know. So here's the crazy part of this. Sometimes we go in there and say, hey, let's just get you a whole bunch of leads. And without even thinking, sometimes a person sit there and say, well, let's get you 100 leads. And that sounds like that's very attractive to a business, 100 leads, 100 opportunities to have customers buy. But my question is, what if they couldn't handle 100 leads? How do they know, like, how do we know that having 100 leads is attractive for them to work with us? Because if you think about it, 100 leads, that means you've got to follow up 100 people. That means you've got to do 100 quotes. There's a lot of time, energy, effort, and they may not be able to cope with the level of inquiry. That's not to say that they get 100% conversion through their sales process, but even having 100 opportunities, they might only be able to follow up 10 or 15 opportunities, and then 85 or 75 to 85 opportunities will be left on the table, right? And so sometimes, pushing people to where we think we want them to go isn't going to be helpful to you in what you do. So think about it from your customer's point of view, and in terms of what you sell, how does what you sell have an impact on them to get the outcomes that they're looking for to maximize your opportunity for generating sales? That's a real key, or that's a real critical piece in that puzzle, right? So next, take real interest in your customers, your market, and the market will take an interest in you. My favorite saying by one of my favorite mentors is a guy called Stephen Covey, and he wrote as one of his chapters in his book, seek to understand and then seek to be understood. Let me understand where you are. Let me understand from your perspective, and then let me share with you how I understand how we can solve this problem for you, right? So seek to understand. Most people, another phrase that people have, I've had said to me in the past, and this comes from a friend of mine, Alan McGurven, years ago. One of my mentors said, John, to have a friend, you have to be a friend first. And so understand that people like people who like them. People like people who take an interest in what they have to do in the marketplace. And so what happens is that you're opening the door to having the friend, to be a friend, and then ultimately to have a friend in what you do. So when you take an interest in people and you take an interest in what they have, what they're doing, and take an interest in where they're heading, and take an interest in perhaps looking at ways that they want to improve for themselves, and you're able to bring that into that awareness, then you maximize your opportunity to generate a whole bunch more sales. So selling is a service, right? Selling is a service. You are serving people. When you're selling, you are of service to somebody. You're helping people, and that's the other thing, is selling is helping. If we reframe the reference of how we help people, and we understand how we help, we understand the impact of that help, we understand the areas that impact serves, right? Then it takes the frame of reference of trying to sell something to somebody to actually helping somebody bridge the gap from where they are to where they want to be. Do they want to gain something? Do they want to gain pleasure? Do they want to avoid a pain? Do they want something taken care of faster, better, more effectively than they can actually do it, right? All of these things come into play when we're selling a service, and more importantly, selling is helping. So what if you were to take the approach of giving one person $1,000 worth of service today? So instead of thinking about this concept of, hey, I want to make $100,000 in sales in the next 30 days or 90 days or whatever it is, what if we actually took the concept of every interaction that we made, we gave a person $1,000 worth of our value, right? And that means that people invest $1,000 in your value or more, right? What if we took the approach of giving somebody $1,000 worth of value, as opposed to sitting there thinking, I've got to make this outcome to bridge the gap from where I am to where I want to be? Because if we take this concept of serving, then we're going to get a much better approach, or much better connection, and certainly acceptance when we have that idea that we are here to serve. So what if we were to take that approach, giving one person $1,000 worth of your services today, every day, 100 days, $100,000, right? So here's the thing. How much would you pay? How much would you pay? How much would you pay? How much, right? Would you pay to listen, or would you pay to listen to your pitch? That's what I'm trying to say here. So my apologies on the little syntax spelling error here. So how much would you pay, right, you to listen to your pitch? Now, most people will probably say nothing, right? And that's the thing. How much would you pay to listen to your pitch? But here's the thing, right? People pay consultants thousands of dollars to ask questions to find out what they want, and then to help them get it, right? When you're an advisor, when you're a consultant, you are paid for your ability to ask great questions. One of the things in Consulting Champions, a lot of our consultants, or a lot of our agency people actually sell strategy sessions. They don't give them away for free. They actually do paid strategy or paid discovery, right? So they might charge $4 to $5, maybe $10,000 to do a discovery session for to find out exactly, discover where the problems, where the challenges are, what the bottlenecks are, what the costs or what the issues are in stopping people from getting the outcomes, and also even clarifying the outcomes that they can deliver to the marketplace. So people pay consultants thousands of dollars to ask questions to find out what they want, and then help them actually go and get it. So think of how you put yourself in the same scenario. Oftentimes in our world, we tend to give a lot of our stuff away, thinking that by giving this value away and leading with value, that we're actually going to get some level of reciprocity. The problem with doing that is if what you're giving away is general or isn't perceived as in real value, then ultimately it's not worth anything, right? People aren't going to value it. But when you actually, that word perceived value is a really interesting thing, the perception of value. What you really want is to deliver real value. And real value is getting paid for your expertise and your knowledge. That's real value, right? When you value what you have to offer and the client values what you have to offer, then that's the differentiation of making valuable propositions. That sounds like a lot of value in that conversation. So attitude, what's your attitude, right? One of the things that you want to be mindful of is how you approach what you sell, what you give, and what you deliver to the marketplace. You'll notice that we've got a few chirping birds in the background because I am out in nature at the moment and they are vocally sharing here on this recording. So here's the thing, attitude is really key, right? Attitude's critical. So what I mean by attitude, right? Do you absolutely believe unequivocally that what you have to offer will make a difference to the clients that you serve? Do you absolutely unequivocally believe what you have to offer will serve the clients that you want to engage as customers in the market? If you come with that attitude, if you come with that confidence, knowing what you do makes a huge difference, and walk through how that applies and align their desire for that outcome and align your service to help them get what they want, then from an attitudinal point of view, you're going to come to this more confidently with a lot more conviction and a lot more strength in the market. So your attitude, 80% of this whole game of being in business is in our mind. It's our mindset. That grey matter between our ears is critical to our success. A lot of us do everything we can to not be successful. Right? We do all the things we know we know. A lot of us know how to be very unsuccessful. I know how to be unsuccessful, right? But I also know how to be very successful. And so my attitude is, if I go walk in knowing that I can help, knowing what I have to offer with absolute conviction in my mind, will make a huge difference to them. And I will do everything humanly possible to make sure that they're getting a positive and outstanding outcome. Then that attitude is going to convey itself to your prospective customer. Next, appreciation. So few people appreciate people these days. It's really interesting. One of the things that I like to do when I do presentations, or if I've had consultations, or people have given me their time, I actually will go and acknowledge them for their time. Sometimes I send them a book, send them a card, send them a thank you. If somebody ever buys from me, if they jump into our coaching programs or they jump into our business programs, then I always do something nice to thank and acknowledge them and appreciate them for the fact that they are trusting me to help them with their outcomes. If you use the factor of appreciation to acknowledge and thank, and as clients come on board to actually acknowledge the fact they've made a commitment or investment to you in your services, then you're going to get a lot more referrals, but you're also going to change people's perception from a supplier to somebody who is a trusted, building themselves into a trusted advisor. Appreciation, very, very important. Attention, got to pay attention. The more attention you pay to your clients, the more money you're going to make. Now, here's the interesting thing, part of this process, because at the end of the day, we need to set expectations with our clients, and a lot of us are very bad at doing that. Or if ever, in most cases, we don't set expectations with clients, and if we don't do that, then we end up having burnt fingers. So one of the things that you want to be making sure is that you're consistently paying attention. One of the things that in this time of the economic crisis that we have and the health crisis we have, what most businesses have discovered is that loyalty has gone out the window in a lot of cases, and in other cases is they really didn't know their customers very well, or the communication and the strength that they had with their customers wasn't very strong either. I've seen a lot of agencies and a lot of marketing companies lose clients in the last few months purely because they didn't get to them quickly enough to communicate, to perhaps offer alternative plans, to actually support and help. But your clients do need attention, and let me tell you, As long as the attention you pay is something that is valuable to them and something that they understand that you're in some ways going out of your way to do the best that you can, then you'll find that you'll create an emotional bond with your customers, and your customers will stay with you for a lot longer. The last one is action. You need to, if you want to sell anything to anybody, you want to build a cadence of regular communication on a daily basis with people who have the propensity to benefit from what you do. And a lot of people have, intermittently, they tend to not take enough action in this area. You want to be proactive in your business rather than reactive in your business. If you're proactive, you're actively going out there and engaging. If you're reactive, you're waiting for it to come in. And if you're waiting for it to come in and you don't handle that effectively, then you're going to minimize the results. But if you are proactive and you're driving the opportunity, you're driving the results, then you're actually going to generate a much stronger outcome for yourself and certainly achieve a lot more for or from your business. So understand how to sell anything to anybody is about sincerely listening to what they have to offer, and then more importantly, taking an interest in sincerely helping them get the outcome, helping them what they're looking for, what they want, so that you can maximize the opportunity to help them, and at the same time they value you for the service you provide. And ultimately, the more value you give, a higher price you can actually charge in the marketplace. Now, you've all seen the consultingunleashedlive.com event, which is happening on Saturday, May 23rd. It is a 4-hour blitzing intensive on sales, where I talk about finding a lead source where you can get verified emails of decision makers, looking at hottest niches and market intelligence on what they're buying now. Over 20 tested crafted offers for engagement and personalized crafted offers for you directly at the event. Simple 5-step sales process. Close the sale with an agreement and a payment on the spot. Walk you through how to actually do that. Service fulfillment done for you. So we're talking about the concept of using a resource partner as opposed to a contractor. Plan to close 6 deals in 60 days. That's the idea of the Blitz. And more importantly, all the recordings and all the slides will be provided for the event. Now, we have a private members area for this event. If you do purchase a ticket, you'll get access to a bonus training that's in there right now. You also get access to a private messaging group of those who are attending. But the ticket is a ticket for good. So I want to explain the ticket for good. I've decided that this event is something where I want to support sustainable projects that help others in need. And one of the things that we could do with this ticket is, for every ticket that is sold, we're actually providing 10 families a solar lantern for their homes, those that don't have electricity. We're also helping 5 women to gain vocational training and job skills so they can gain independence and support their families. And for this ticket, one child will have their education, a disadvantaged child will have their education paid for an entire year. So this $97 ticket is a ticket for good. We only have a certain number of tickets left. If you haven't bought one, I would highly recommend that you buy this. I'm going to give you as much value as I can from this live event. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a whole bunch of people joining us who are looking to scale and blitz their sales. If you are in a marketing agency or a business or a coaching business, or you're a consultant out there delivering services, then I'll guarantee you that this event will knock your socks off. And let me tell you, I do these one-day blitzes around the world. I've done many of them, and we've generated hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of sales in these events. So if you're looking to get focused, get clear, get structured in your sales process, join me for the Sales Blitz Intensive at the consultingunleashedlive.com. Grab your ticket there. Ticket sales will close out when we close this event. We are close to selling out, so I really appreciate those who have already purchased a ticket if you have. But if you haven't done that and you've been waiting, don't wait too long, because we will close the doors to this event. It's happening on May the 23rd, which is a Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we'll go through for 4 hours. And there'll be 4 hours of rock solid strategy, tactics, things that you can apply and take away, and also have some interaction with us on that particular training. So with that, I am just going to get back to my Zoom, and we're going to stop broadcasting, and we're going to go back to here. So that's been helpful. Hopefully that's given you some ideas, some tactical things to think about. at the end of the day, what you focus on most becomes your reality. If you want to focus on generating sales, you're going to be generating sales. The number one thing that I have found that has always worked for me in generating sales is the more that I have taken interest in the people that I want to serve, the more I've been able to actually engage customers in the marketplace. So understand that concept. Take an interest in them, they'll take an interest in you. If you are a friend, if you be the friend, you'll gain a friend. This is a great way to walk yourself into being the trusted advisor for the opportunities you create. So thanks for watching the training. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. It'll be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We will get into our regular cadence and hopefully we'll have all the interwebs back, but without all the interruptions. So looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on the live training in the clarity and the focus sessions. Thanks for watching this video. Love to see you at the Consulting Unleashed live event. Take care, everybody.